welcome back to our channel. Do you have pennies from 1988, 1993, 1998, or 2015? They might look ordinary, but some carry rare mint errors and hidden value that could surprise you. Before you spend them, take a closer look. Like and subscribe to uncover the true worth of your everyday coins. In 1988, the world was in flux. The Cold War was drawing closer to its end, technology was evolving, and the United States was brimming with optimism. Yet in the midst of these global transformations, small, seemingly insignificant objects continued to move through American lives unnoticed, objects like the humble 1-cent penny. Specifically, the 1988 U.S. 1-cent penny, a coin so common and familiar that most people never gave it a second glance. It jingled in pockets, rolled under car seats, and disappeared between couch cushions. But hidden among the billions of these pennies, a select few carried secrets, errors and anomalies that would elevate them far above their tiny face value. And for those who knew what to look for, the 1988 penny became a gateway to a small fortune. At first glance, the 1988 penny looks just like any other. Its obverse features the long-standing image of Abraham Lincoln, a design first created by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to commemorate Lincoln's 100th birthday. This profile portrait had become a fixture in American currency, embodying strength and dignity. The inscriptions read, "In God We Trust," across the top, "Liberty," to the left, and the date, 1988, to the right. A small D or P beneath the date indicated whether the coin was minted in Denver or Philadelphia, respectively, while some bore no mint mark at all. On the reverse, the familiar Lincoln Memorial design still stood proud. This side of the coin, designed by Frank Gasparo, had been introduced in 1959 to replace the wheat ears design and commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The fine columns of the memorial, the steps, the small but distinct figure of Lincoln seated inside, it was all there in meticulous detail. Above the structure was the inscription, "United States of America," and below it, the denomination, 1 cent. Across the top of the memorial appeared the phrase, "E pluribus unum," Latin for, out of many, one. But despite the billions of pennies minted in 1988, not all of them were alike. Deep within the massive output of coins that year, a rare and valuable error occurred, one that would make certain 1988 pennies far more than just pocket change. The most famous of these errors is known among collectors as the 1988 reverse of 1989 transitional design variety, a mouthful, but one that hides a fascinating truth. To understand this error, we need to go behind the scenes to the minting process. In 1988, the U.S. Mint was in the process of updating its coinage dies. The dies are the steel tools used to strike the design into the blank planchets. For the Lincoln cent, the reverse design was transitioning to a slightly altered version starting in 1989, with very subtle differences in the engraving, especially in the design of the FG initials of Frank Gasparo near the base of the Lincoln Memorial. On a regular 1988 penny, the initials are distinct and set farther from the building, while on the 1989 reverse, they're closer and formed slightly differently, due to a die mix-up at the mint. Some 1988 pennies were struck using the 1989 reverse die. It was a small difference, one that most eyes would never catch without magnification and familiarity with the design. But to collectors, this anomaly created a transitional variety that instantly gained fame for its rarity and historical intrigue. It's a coin that shouldn't exist, and that makes it profoundly valuable. Only a limited number of these 1988 reverse of 1989 pennies have been confirmed to exist, and fewer still have been found in high-grade, uncirculated condition. These rare examples, graded MS-65 red or higher, are the crown jewels for collectors of Lincoln cents. Their copper-plated zinc surface must remain untarnished, their edges crisp, and their design unmarred by circulation. In addition to the transitional reverse, other error types from 1988 have also surfaced: coins struck off-center, double dies, die clashes, and even struck-through errors caused by debris on the die surface. Each variation brings a unique story of what went wrong in a system designed for precision and mass uniformity. One coin collector in Michigan, who had inherited a small hoard of pennies from his grandfather, discovered a 1988 cent that stood out. Under careful examination, he noticed the reverse design didn't quite match other 1988 coins. After researching and comparing with known transitional varieties, he sent it to a grading company. It came back authenticated and graded as a rare 1988 reverse of 1989 in MS66 red. The coin, originally worth just a penny, eventually sold at a high-profile auction for tens of thousands of dollars. Another story emerged from a teenager in California who had taken up coin roll hunting as a hobby. While going through rolls from the bank, he came across a sharply struck 1988 penny with an odd doubling on the date and Liberty. Not knowing what he had, he posted a photo online, which drew attention from seasoned collectors. Eventually, it was determined to be a genuine double die, and though not as rare as the reverse variety, its excellent condition still netted a surprising sale. These stories illustrate the enduring mystery and allure of coins like the 1988 penny. In a world where most people overlook pennies, some see them as treasure chests hiding in plain sight. Every once in a while, an error slips through the rigid quality control processes of the mint, and when it does, it creates a spark, a moment where history, rarity, and curiosity combine to transform something ordinary into something extraordinary. Even today, more than 3 decades later, collectors continue to search for these elusive 1988 errors. Some do it for the thrill of the hunt, others in hopes of discovering a hidden gem. Coin shows, online marketplaces, and private auctions occasionally see these coins change hands, each transaction a quiet acknowledgement of just how special these coins are. Their value isn't just in the metal or the error, it's in the story they carry, the mystery of how they came to be, and the few who were lucky or skilled enough to spot them. So, the next time you get change back from a coffee shop or dig into your coin jar, pause before tossing that penny aside. Look at it closely. What year is it? What does the reverse look like? Are there signs of doubling, off-center strikes, or peculiar initials near the base of the Lincoln Memorial? That small, copper coin could be holding a secret of its own, because if you happen to stumble upon one of those rare 1988 US 1-cent pennies with the transitional reverse or other striking errors, especially in mint condition, you could be holding something far more valuable than a mere cent. Its value today stands anywhere from $52,000 to $140,000, a staggering figure for a coin most would never look at twice. In the grand world of numismatics, even the smallest things can carry the greatest surprises. In 1993, the United States was shifting into a new era. The Cold War was behind, the digital revolution was in its early stages, and Bill Clinton had just stepped into the White House. Amid the headlines of innovation, transformation, and change, there was another story quietly unfolding, one that would remain unnoticed by most, hiding in pockets, piggy banks, and spare change jars. It was the story of the 1993 US 1-cent penny. To many, it was just another coin, a familiar companion in daily transactions. But buried among the billions of these copper-plated zinc coins, a handful stood out not because of what they were, but because of what made them different. Rare errors, subtle anomalies, and one-in-a-million minting quirks transformed some of these common coins into treasures worth tens of thousands of dollars. The 1993 penny carried forward a tradition that had begun in 1909 with the first appearance of Abraham Lincoln on a U.S. coin. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse still bore Lincoln's dignified profile, stoic and steady, staring to the right. The words, "In God We Trust," arched above his head. To his left, the word "Liberty" stood proud, and to his right, the date, 1993, was struck with precision. No mint mark below the date meant the coin was produced in Philadelphia, while a D indicated Denver. Millions of people handled these pennies without a second thought. But for those who paid closer attention, something unusual sometimes emerged. The reverse, still displaying Frank Gasparo's iconic Lincoln Memorial design, seemed perfectly ordinary. But in truth, even a design that had been in use for decades could carry secrets. The intricate details of the memorial, its columns, stairs, and the small seated figure of Lincoln, had to be struck with incredible accuracy. Surrounding the monument were the phrases, "United States of America," above, and "1 cent," below. Centered just above the structure, the Latin motto, "E pluribus unum," completed the design. Yet even in this uniform layout, errors could, and did, In the complex and high-speed world of coin minting, even the slightest variation could produce an error coin. And it was these errors, sometimes barely visible, that gave the 1993 penny its incredible hidden value. Transitional mistakes, misalignments, die cracks, double strikes, off-center errors, and die clashes were among the fascinating phenomena that appeared in limited numbers. Most of the time, these mistakes went unnoticed, only to be discovered later by keen-eyed collectors, often years after the coin had entered circulation. One of the most talked-about varieties of the 1993 penny is the doubled die obverse. Under magnification, these coins display faint but clear signs of doubling in the date or lettering, particularly Liberty or In God We Trust. These are the kinds of tiny discrepancies that distinguish a valuable rarity from an everyday coin. Collectors know how to spot them, but to the untrained eye, they're nearly invisible. Then there were the off-center strikes, where the die and planchet were misaligned during minting. Instead of the design appearing perfectly centered, part of it was struck outside the coin's edge, giving it a lopsided, incomplete appearance. These off-center pennies often attract interest based on the percentage of misalignment and how much of the design remains visible. A 50% off-center strike with a clear date and mint mark is especially desirable. Struck-through errors were another unexpected delight for collectors. These occur when a foreign object, such as a thread, piece of cloth, or even grease, comes between the die and planchet during the strike, leaving behind unusual imprints or blank areas. No two struck-through errors are exactly alike, making each one a unique piece of minting history. Die cracks and die clashes added to the intrigue. Over time, dies develop wear, and cracks may form. When a cracked die strikes a planchet, the resulting coin shows raised lines across its surface where the metal flowed into the die's fracture. Die clashes happen when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, imprinting part of one design onto the opposite die. This results in bizarre and captivating ghost images on the coins that collectors deeply value. Stories have surfaced over the years of ordinary people stumbling upon extraordinary 1993 pennies. One man in Ohio, going through his late grandfather's old coin jar, noticed a penny that seemed off. It had a strange double image in the lettering. After consulting an expert and sending it in for grading, it was confirmed to be a high-grade doubled die penny. That single coin, originally worth 1 cent, fetched a staggering sum at auction. A woman in Florida, while roll hunting for fun, came across a 1993 penny that had clearly been struck off-center. It was preserved well, with a distinct date and partial portrait. She sold it to a collector for several $1,000s, later discovering that coins with even more dramatic errors and higher grades had been sold for much, much more. Professional grading is key to unlocking the true value of these coins. Coins graded MS65 or higher, especially those with red, RD, color designations indicating brilliant, untarnished surfaces, are the most sought after. The red hue of a newly minted penny can fade over time, making high-grade, red-toned 1993 error pennies even more elusive and valuable. As more people become interested in coin collecting, the 1993 penny has taken on a new life. It's no longer just a relic of a previous era, it's a mystery to be solved, a reward waiting to be discovered. Collectors, hobbyists, and treasure hunters continue to search coin rolls, bank bags, and old family stashes in hopes of uncovering one of these rare finds. The allure lies not just in the monetary reward but in the thrill of the hunt. The idea that something so ordinary, so easily overlooked, could actually be worth a small fortune continues to inspire new generations of collectors. And in that inspiration lies the true magic of numismatics, the sense of wonder, history, and discovery packed into every small piece of metal. So the next time you see a penny lying on the ground, don't ignore it. Pick it up. Look at the date. Examine the design. Turn it over and really see it. Because if you're holding a 1993 US 1-cent penny with a rare error, especially one in mint state condition, you could be looking at a coin worth far more than a cent. That small copper-plated zinc coin could be your ticket into the exciting world of valuable collectibles. And depending on its condition and rarity, your 1993 penny could be worth between $47,000 and $120,000. Not bad for something most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up. The year was 1998. The internet was just beginning to reshape society, the world was bracing for the new millennium, and pop culture was thriving in ways no one could ignore. Amid this backdrop of rapid change, millions of U.S. citizens carried with them a piece of copper-plated history, small, simple, often dismissed as pocket change. It was the 1998 U.S. 1-cent penny. Day after day, it passed through vending machines, coin jars, and cash registers, its true story buried beneath the surface. But for a select few coins from that year, their fate was far from ordinary. These were not just pennies. They were hidden treasures waiting to be uncovered. Minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, the 1998 penny carried the timeless profile of President Abraham Lincoln on its obverse. The design, first introduced in 1909 by Victor David Brenner, remained unchanged in its dignity and detail. The words, "In God We Trust," arched proudly above Lincoln's head. Liberty sat to the left of his portrait, while the date, 1998, appeared crisply to the right. A small D mint mark beneath the date indicated the Denver Mint, while no mark meant it came from Philadelphia. Billions of these coins were struck, but among them were a few anomalies that would later become the holy grails of collectors. Flip the coin, and you'd see Frank Gasparo's detailed depiction of the Lincoln Memorial. This reverse design had been in use since 1959, and though it was familiar to nearly every American, the level of detail was astonishing. The carefully carved pillars, the statue of Lincoln visible between them, and the inscriptions, United States of America, 1 cent, and E pluribus unum, all had to be struck with precision. But every now and then, the machines that produced these coins, operating under high speed and tremendous pressure, made mistakes, and that's where the magic happened. The 1998 penny is infamous for one very specific and exciting variety, the wide AM reverse. In a rare twist of design error, some pennies struck that year used a reverse die intended for proof coins. On these particular coins, the letters A and M in America are spaced farther apart than usual. To the untrained eye, the difference is minuscule. But to collectors, it's a golden ticket. This wide AM variety is especially rare on coins minted in Philadelphia, and finding one in brilliant uncirculated condition is like winning the numismatic lottery. Beyond the wide AM, the 1998 penny also shows up in other dramatic error forms, off-center strikes, double dies, and die cracks, each of which brings its own allure and mystery. In an off-center strike, the coin is misaligned during minting, leaving parts of the design cut off or shifted awkwardly. When the misalignment is severe, but the date and mint mark remain visible, these coins skyrocket in value. Then there's the double die variety, where elements like Liberty or In God We Trust appear ghosted or shadowed due to a misprint in the die itself. While not as common in 1998 as in earlier years like 1955 or 1972, a confirmed double die from this year still garners enormous attention and premium pricing. Meanwhile, die cracks, caused by wear in the striking die, can leave raised lines or unusual patterns across the coin's surface, making each one a small, unrepeatable piece of minting history. Some of the most fascinating stories about the 1998 penny come from everyday people who stumbled upon something extraordinary. A teenager in Michigan once found a wide AM penny in pocket change and nearly tossed it aside. But curious about coin collecting, he checked it under magnification and realized what he had. That penny, verified and graded as mint state, later sold for thousands of dollars. Another collector, combing through rolls of pennies from a local bank, discovered several 1998 coins with partial collars, an error where the edge of the coin isn't properly formed due to die misalignment. Though not as famous as a wide AM, such error types can still bring in hundreds to thousands of dollars depending on condition and rarity. The condition, of course, is everything. Professional grading agencies like PCGS and NGC assess coins on a scale from 1 to 70. Coins rated MS65 or higher, mint state, are particularly valuable, especially if they retain a bright red luster. Color plays a huge role. Red, RD, coins, untouched by circulation or oxidation, command the highest prices. Brown, BN, and red-brown, RB, coins are still collectible but usually don't reach the same financial heights, and it's not just collectors driving the demand. Investors, enthusiasts, and even casual treasure hunters have turned their attention to these humble pennies, motivated by the idea that something worth tens of thousands of dollars could be hiding in plain sight. The thrill lies not just in owning the coin, but in finding it. In hunting through jars, bank rolls, or old drawers, hoping to uncover something truly rare, the 1998 penny reminds us that value can exist where we least expect it. What most consider spare change may actually be a piece of overlooked history, a silent witness to a specific moment in time, made rarer by human error or a twist of minting fate. So the next time you come across a 1998 penny, don't ignore it. Look closer. Check the AM spacing in America. Scan the details for oddities, doubling, cracks, or misalignments. Because among the billions of 1998 pennies struck, a very small number could be worth far, far more than face value, and if you happen to be lucky enough to find one of these rare varieties in high-grade condition, you could be holding a treasure worth between $40,000 and $110,000. Not bad for something most people wouldn't bother to pick up off the sidewalk. In the heart of 2015, as smartphones lit up every corner of daily life, social media surged with unprecedented momentum, and technology continued to evolve faster than ever before. The world spun ahead with unstoppable energy. But amidst the noise of innovation and digital dominance, something remarkably simple passed quietly from hand to hand, a tiny copper-plated coin that most people barely noticed. It was a 2015 US 1-cent penny. A piece of metal many discarded into jars, slipped into pockets, or lost beneath car seats. But within that modest penny hid stories of rare errors, minting quirks, and collector legends, stories that transformed some of these coins from common change into coveted treasures. The 2015 penny proudly bore the profile of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. Victor David Brenner's iconic design, first introduced in 1909, continued to grace the obverse, capturing Lincoln's thoughtful expression in stunning detail. Above his head, the motto, "In God We Trust," spanned the rim. To the left, the word "Liberty," and to the right, the date, 2015. A small D or P beneath the date denoted the mint, Denver or Philadelphia. Even after over a century in circulation, the Lincoln cent remained a symbol of American heritage, quietly enduring. Flip the coin and the reverse offered a bold and modern take on tradition, the Union Shield. Designed by Lyndall Bass and sculpted by Joseph Mena, this image replaced the Lincoln Memorial in 2010. It featured a shield with vertical stripes and a single horizontal bar above them, symbolizing unity among the states. The banner across it read, "1 cent," while "United States of America" and "E Pluribus Unum" framed the design. Sleek, strong, and meaningful, this reverse represented resilience and national identity, but not every 2015 penny was struck to perfection. And that's where the story turns from common to extraordinary. Among the billions produced that year, a handful of coins emerged with unusual features, anomalies that set them apart in the eyes of collectors and dealers. Most famously, the 2015 pennies became known for various minting errors, such as double dies, off-center strikes, and die cracks. These errors were not created intentionally, but rather resulted from the pressures of high-speed production in the U.S. Mint. One of the most prized errors was the double die variety. On these coins, elements like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust" appear slightly duplicated or ghosted, especially under magnification. This occurred when the die used to stamp the coin was improperly manufactured, creating a layered effect. Even small, subtle doubling can significantly boost a coin's value, especially if the coin is in uncirculated condition. Another highly sought-after variation was the off-center strike. These coins were misaligned during minting, causing part of the design to be shifted or missing entirely. A dramatic off-center error, say, 50% off, with a fully visible date is a collector's dream. In the world of error coins, the more dramatic and the more complete the date and details, the higher the value climbs. Then there were die cracks and cuds. Over time, the dies that strike coins wear down or even crack, and when they continue to be used, they produce coins with raised lines or blobs where metal flowed into the cracks. These unintentional design flaws make each affected coin unique. The result? An accidental work of art that collectors rush to acquire, and let's not forget the floating roof error, a lesser-known but fascinating variety. This error occurs when part of the roof of the Lincoln Memorial, or in later years, a design component of the shield, appears detached or missing due to over-polishing of the die. While not always dramatic, the rarity of these coins gives them a certain charm among hobbyists. Collectors also sought coins with high-quality strike, brilliant red luster, and little to no contact marks. Coins with a pristine red color, designated RD by grading agencies, are the most valuable. If such a coin also features an error or variety, it becomes even more desirable. Grading, of course, plays a massive role in determining the value of any coin. The Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, grade coins on a scale from 1 to 70. A 2015 penny in mint state 65, MS 65, or above, especially with an error or in red, RD, condition, can be worth hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars. The pinnacle is an MS 69 or MS 70 penny with a rare error, preserved as though it just left the mint. Stories continue to emerge of people stumbling upon rare 2015 pennies in the most ordinary places. A man in Texas found a double-die 2015 penny in his cash register tray and submitted it for grading. The coin returned from PCGS as MS 67 red double-die obverse, selling weeks later for thousands of dollars. Another collector discovered a major off-center strike while sorting through bank rolls and turned a 1-cent find into a massive return on investment. These coins remain elusive because they hide in plain sight. Every roll of pennies could hold a prize. Every handful of spare change could conceal a six-figure treasure. It's a modern treasure hunt, driven by curiosity, fueled by history, and made possible by minting mistakes. In the coin-collecting world, few things thrill more than finding a rare error on a modern coin. It reminds us that even in an age of digital money and invisible transactions, physical currency still holds secrets. It whispers stories from the production floor of the U.S. Mint, where machines struck billions of coins, but not all of them were identical. So the next time you come across a 2015 penny, don't ignore it. Look closely. Examine the shield. Inspect Lincoln's portrait. Check the lettering. Use a magnifying glass. Flip it under a bright light. Because hidden among the billions are a few coins with flaws so rare, so desirable, they defy their humble 1-cent face value. And if you're one of the fortunate few to find a 2015 penny with the right kind of rarity, especially in high-grade, mint-state condition, that little coin could be worth between $30,000 to $92,000. That's not just spare change. That's history in your pocket.